my job was terminated. That was a very public thing.
I know. I'm not making. I was fired too.
I lost my company health insurance. That was a very big deal for us because we have a son who's a transplant patient. He's a chronic medical condition. And then I had my records seized by my employer, which was a red line I thought should never have been crossed. And then I was held in contempt of court. So February was a very, very big month for me. But I made a decision once I'd educated myself about the marketplace, which I would never have done if there hadn't been that forcing function, that for now I was going to go independent. I'd had some generous opportunities to sort of go back to a large corporate media outlet, but I decided that I would go independent and I would tell the stories that I couldn't tell before because I was at a point in my career where I had built up a network of contacts and I felt now is the time. If it's not now, then when?
Amen. I couldn't agree more. So since you brought up, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make fun. I know it is traumatic to have your life turned upside down in a day. I just think you're going to be so much happier. But let's talk about that. Like, so you get hired. You were at Fox News, where we worked together, and I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
I enjoyed it too.
I thought you were really honest.
You're very well behaved.
Honest.
I felt like I was a good moderating influence when we sat down together.
I loved it. But then you left and went to CBS News, which is a huge channel with a storied past, in decline. This is my assessment because they weren't doing what they're supposed to do, which is like tell you interesting stuff that you didn't know and be honest and brave. You are honest and brave, and you specialize in interesting stories. So I thought, wow, this is great. I mean, CBS is a little smarter than I thought they were. And you did break a bunch of stories, and you were the most memorable person on their air, the one doing the fiercest journalism. This is, again, my assessment. And then they have cutbacks because their business is failing, and they fire you. I'm like, wait, what? Did you see that coming?
I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, I didn't.
It wasn't a performance issue. I am so proud of the work that we did there. Especially the work with veterans. I mean, we really helped be a catalyst for legislation that impacted 1 million veterans and civilians for the better.
Yes.
I mean, I feel very proud of that. But that's their choice, whether I work there or not. It's not my company.
Of course.
But the seizing of the records was a terrible red line that was crossed.
If you don't mind, I know this has been written about, but I just want to get a record on video of what exactly happened. So how did this unfold? Like, what kind of warning did you have and what happened?
Well, I testified to Congress about this as well. I was laid off on a Zoom call. I was told my job was terminated. And
did they explain why?
No, not beyond saying that they were making cuts. And I was locked out of my email and locked out of the office. And a couple of days later, a courier came to the house with just a couple of boxes of clothing and some books and, a few awards. And I said, where are all my investigative files and my research and my reporting notes? And she said, you're just going to have to talk to Human Resources about that. And I got the union involved, SAG, AFTRA. I'm not going to go into all the details, but there was a very vigorous back and forth about returning the records.
What were the records, like interview notes? And...
what I would say is that there were interview notes, research, reporter notes, contact information. And when I had left other major organizations, ABC and Fox, it was completely different. There was an understanding that you would go through your materials, you would take with you what was essentially your reporting materials, and you would leave what belonged to the company. And I knew from people at CBS that what was happening to me was not standard. One person in particular said that when their office was cleaned out, they put in dirty coffee cups and Post-it notes. I mean, everything came back to them.
Yeah.
I think if the union hadn't gotten involved and there hadn't been a public outcry, I would never have seen those records again. The union really stood up for journalism. And I testified that when the network of Walter Cronkite seizes your reporting information, including confidential source information, it's an attack on investigative journalism. And I heard from contacts that I've worked with over the years who've helped me to expose government wrongdoing and corruption, that they were very concerned that they would be identified.
So again, I doubt you will agree with this. I don't know what you really think, but from my perspective, super obvious they're taking you out before the election because you're reporting on Hunter Biden's laptop. And that's my take on it. I was shocked that they fired you. Then when I reflected for a moment, I was not shocked at all. They took out the Drudge Report before the 2020 election. They, whatever. Lots of people who are in the way have been taken out before elections. So, do you think your notes were, did they go through your notes during the time they had them?
I really can't answer that.
Because you don't know, or?
I just don't want to really answer that,
okay.
Right now, if that's okay.
No, of course. I think people can draw their own conclusions. Tell us about the reporting you did.
Publicly they said they haven't, but anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it will be kind of tempting to go through your interview notes. I'd like to. But, why would they seize your personal reporting product?
It was a very sad episode for me, just professionally and personally, because I thought that we had done some really tremendous work on not only the laptop, but also the IRS whistleblowers. This was a major story for CBS News. I did an interview along with one of my colleagues, and I think that really changed the public discussion of the Hunter Biden investigation and this question of whether there was a double standard applied in that case.
If you wouldn't, for those of us who missed the CBS report, tell us what the tax investigation into Hunter Biden. So Hunter Biden, in the end, got convicted of a completely ridiculous gun. This is my personal editorializing, but a ridiculous gun charge. Like, who cares, actually? But there are other potential crimes. Tell us about the tax situation.
I would think about the Hunter Biden case as having two buckets. The first was the gun charges, and then the second is this tax case. I've always felt the tax case is a much more serious case and has the greatest legal jeopardy for himself and members of his family. I'd encourage people just to look at the indictment, which is in California, and it's my memory is that it's on the first page or the second page. They refer to him as a lobbyist. And that, to me, is an indicator that the special counsel is exploring whether there were violations of FARA, which is the Foreign Agents Registration Act. And that, in simple terms, means that if you're working on behalf of the interests of a foreign government, you need to be clear with the U.S. government.
You have to register.
That's right. And seated throughout that document is information about his businesses with Ukraine, with China, with others. So to me, it leaves the door open to a superseding indictment. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it certainly, to me, was an indicator or a flag that was possible.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.